Hey guys, it's Clarice, and I wanted to show you my face today. So here I am wearing a mask. So as you guys know, these are masks that I have created from watercolor. So if you guys like these masks, they are available online. Or if you want to create your own, I have two different variations here, and this is just from my work that I've scanned and created. If you want to create your own, I know a great printer who is amazing at making masks like these, or you can find something online as well. So I'm just going to give this a few minutes for everyone to kind of roll in, and then we're going to talk about what we're doing today. So yes, I'm just showing my face today for the first time because I feel like maybe I should at least like once in a while. And I'm just going to make sure that I have everyone available on my desktop so I can see comments. No mask plan. Hi Mary. Happy Sunday. Okay, hold on. Give me 1 second to just make sure the volume is down and I can see everyone. And okay, so I just wanted to do a quick chit chat before we kind of start on with today's painting session. Something new that's happened this week for me is I am now on Patreon. So if people want to follow or add an extra membership or enhance their experience with Hello Clarice Watercolor, this is your chance. If not, that's totally cool. We're still gonna do our videos together, our lives on Sunday, and have a lot of fun. And as usual, please send me your work on Instagram and Facebook. I love it when you guys flood me DMs or even just posting on the wall. It's such an encouragement to me because I never ever thought I had the patience to be a teacher. So again, it always astounds me and it encourages me to do more for you guys. So thank you for sharing your Sunday today. We're gonna get started right now. I'm gonna switch my screen to, thanks Jane, that's so sweet. And, okay. This new phone holder thing that I have is amazing. So I'm actually like, it's flexible enough that I can like show my face and then afterwards revert directly to the screen below. So it's kind of like a nice, convenient thing to do when you're kind of like a one-man shop. You're recording yourself, you're painting, you're editing, you're doing everything together. All right, so hi, Deanna. Thank you. Hi, Sueli. Jane, you are too sweet. Okay, so I just wanted to quickly go over what we did this week. This week we did cotton balls, and it's astounding because I did this because Shauna had requested it in comments and then actually came on Facebook and commented there too. And so I thought, I should definitely do it. And I thought it was cotton buds, and maybe she misspelled B-A-L-L-S with B-O-L-L-S. And then I find out, no, it's actually cotton balls, B-O-L-L-S. So this is what we did, and I had a drawing for this. So if you caught this week's tutorial, you would have seen the link for the drawing as well. And then I enhanced it by doing this nice pink beige foliage, which I absolutely love in contrast with the cotton happening there. And yeah, this was last week, so you guys know we're kind of going with that whole fall theme of foliage and stuff. And so this week or this Sunday, I have a base drawing, and the base drawing will be available for everyone else to kind of download once this has gone live. But I just did this for the patrons who wanted a little extra to make sure that their start would be a little less hassly, I guess. But you honestly do not need this. I'm gonna kind of go ahead, and this gives you an idea of what we're doing. And we've got cotton balls in there, but trust me guys, you don't really need the painting, the drawing, unless you are absolutely wanting to do very detailed details, because as you can see, this is kind of smaller, right? So I'm just gonna make sure I have some water. Give me 1 second. I actually forgot to get myself some water, so I had to steal away for that. Okay, so this is the drawing that we have, and as you can see, we've got a pumpkin, so excited to kind of revise everything that we've been kind of doing in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So here's our chance, and we're still gonna keep it loose. With the exception for the cotton balls, although I think even the cotton balls we could keep it loose. Like these ones that we did this week were very detailed and less loose, but these leaves are like super loose, and this is what we are trying to achieve. All right, so let me just see the comments before we begin. Cindy, yes, this is actually the first time I've forgotten my water, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to tell them because I was too busy planning to show my face and then forgot about the water. Okay, so let's begin. So I think the first thing we're gonna do to begin with this is create the base pumpkin. And I'm going to make this pumpkin a very light color. So we're gonna go with, you guys remember the pumpkins we did last week? I'm trying to find the sheet. But yeah, you guys remember. So we're gonna use, you can either use a Payne's gray or the indigo blue, and we just want a very light touch of it. So I'm going to show you what I'm mixing on my palette over here, and I just want to make sure that this is the right color. This is a blue, no, this is the black. So if I use the black, then I'm getting like a gray. If I use the blue combined with the black, I'm getting like a nice grayish color. So literally I want it to be very light because I don't want the pumpkin to be overpowering. So I'm going to get some of the gray and I'm going to mix it with some of that indigo blue. Now if I can only find it on here, I think this is it. Yes, there we go. So as you can see, it's like a turquoise gray blue happening. And I'm just going to make sure I got a lot of water on here. And again, we want this to be loose. We want there to be a lot of white space happening between the ridges. And we are going to start. All right, so I'm using my Princeton number 8. And don't worry if you well, for those who have the drawing, don't worry if you overlap on the actual foliage, that will be darker. So we're going to start off by doing a couple of strokes. If you have done my pumpkin tutorial, you know exactly how to do this without even having it, because it's literally just the shape of an oval or a round circle. So just starting from the top, going all the way down very loosely, pushing all the color down, and then I'm leaving space in between each ridge to kind of indicate shadow, light, dark, all that good stuff. As you can see, I'm very loosely following my drawing. I'm not really following it. I'm creating this a lot bigger. As you can see, the base, it's gone lower than the actual base that I drew for it. And now once we have this in there, we're going to take advantage of the fact that it's still damp to go in and give it a little bit of highlights in the edges. So I'm using the same brush, just getting a little bit of color onto my palette. And I'm just going to go ahead and add some swipes of color. Now it may have dried up already, in which case that's totally fine, don't worry. You just kind of go along with it, because layering watercolor is also a thing and it is nice. So if you can get a nice blend depending on the kind of paper you're using, this is the Canson Watercolor paper. So while it is watercolor paper, it isn't 100% watercolor, cotton. I made that mistake previously. I meant to say it's not 100% cotton, and I said not 100% watercolor paper. But yeah, that's what I meant to say. It's not 100% cotton, which is why the water kind of dries up quicker, and you don't get that. You do get a blend, but it's just not as nice as if you were to paint on something that was 100% watercolor. All right, so I'm just gonna touch the edges at the bottom with extra gray to do this next bit. So I'm touching it with some gray, then I'm dipping my brush in water, and then I'm just touching the edge of this and pushing out the paint or pushing out the water. And you don't see it, you probably don't see it as dark or as prominent. So I'm just gonna add a tad bit of extra gray to the edge so it spreads out some more. And then again, I'm just pushing it out. And we have our little base shadow. And if you want to spread the color from the bottom up, you can totally do that, or just leave it as is. It's entirely up to you. And I'm just adding a couple of strokes here and there to kind of give it a little more layering. But yes, this little cauliflower flare of color that you see happening, I love to see that in my paintings. It just gives it a more romantic feel. Okay, so we have that, and if I kind of need to enhance it a bit more after we've done the rest of this, I will, but for now we're gonna go ahead. Let me just bring this down some more. There we go, better lighting and closer. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna tackle the leaves first, and then we'll do actually no, let's tackle the cotton first, just because that's fresh in our minds and we've kind of all done that this week. So we're using the Mars Brown and the Sepia for those. And again, I was super detailed in the week, but this time I'm gonna go quickly to make it looser. So I'm using my number 4. I'm getting some of the Sepia, which is the darker of the two browns, and I'm just gonna go ahead and, sorry, you know what? This is not the Sepia. I think that's the Mars Brown. The Sepia is like dark, 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 which is right here. My bad. Should just get the Sepia. And I just need more of it because it's not enough again. See, I kind of mix my browns up sometimes because they all look so dark and you can't really tell what is what. This is the one thing with St. Petersburg. They do not indicate anywhere on there what color it is. So unless you have it neatly categorized, you don't really see that happening. Or you can't easily tell what is what. So I'm just kind of going in and doing 3 little outer prongs, I guess you can call them, and extending it down. And then once I have that, so I would suggest just go all the way down. I'm going to do a second one here, exactly the same way, like 3 prongs, and kind of tilt it off in this direction and pulling it down to the edge. And then just going in with a darker sepia and adding it down there. There we go. And then we have one more happening over here. I'm just going to add just the edges. Now, if you did this week's tutorial, you will know exactly how this one is supposed to look. It's just little four sort of triangles on each side, and I'm very loosely painting that in. And I'm going to give it a stem as well. And there we go. So we are done with that. We then can do the little stems with, I don't know what they are, but I guess people from the south can let me know. It's just like, it looks like it's part of the plant, and they just have little tiny buds on the edge. So is that extra budding cotton or what? I am not quite sure. So it's literally just a stem, and you're just giving it random areas of little buds protruding from it. So you can feel free to have just a couple at the top, couple at the bottom, or just a couple in the middle. It's entirely up to you. Or you can just follow along as what I am doing right now. And then I have drawn myself one over here too. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And again, it's the same thing. We're just doing very basic shapes by adding with just like the one color. And I'm just extending it down to the bottom of this area here. And now once we have this, we're going to go ahead and do some of the brown leaves. So just to show you, the leaves are extremely simple. It's almost exactly like what we've been doing for all the other floral tutorials I've been doing. We're just going to do it in brown. And this will be the darkest in our area over here. So I am going to take the Mars brown, which is the medium brown that I was initially using, and I'm mixing some of that with the sepia, and I'm going to get like this medium-ish brown. So that's what we're going to use to do these leaves. We have some protruding amongst the cotton itself. So one right there, and extending out here. So if you feel like the brown is a little bit too light and you want it to be darker or closer to what the cotton looks like, then go for a slightly darker brown. When I talk like this to you guys in terms of if you feel, try something else, I am really encouraging you to kind of step out of your comfort zone. And while it is nice to kind of follow along exactly what I am doing, I also want you to be able to explore how you can do this yourself. And also, if you come across like a new method of doing things, then kudos to you. But it's also kind of exploring, giving you the gumption, I guess, and experience with having done something without copying exactly. And I think that's where a lot of confidence is built, especially when you're painting. So we've done one set of leaves, and I kind of like the contrast. It's like a medium brown compared to the actual dark brown happening here. And let's do another set of leaves just on this side. And I'm getting more on my number 4. More brown, that is. And I'm trying to lay the leaves down with just like 1 stroke and 2 strokes, and then leaving some white space in there, almost kind of touching the stem, but maybe a little bit open-ended, because again, we're aiming for a very loose feel, and we don't want everything to be perfect, because that's where we kind of lose the whole looseness of it all. And then we will do one more over here, and then we're going on to our pink foliage, guys. So get ready for that. So this is pretty much what we've done in the week. This is nothing new. We've just done it on a quicker scale and enhancing what we've learned by doing some other fun things around it, which is why this is quicker. So there we go. You can add, like I always like to say, add some darker detail to the tips of the leaves. This is your chance. Just adding a couple of leaves here and there. I know it gets pretty crowded at the bottom, but that's okay. Like, this is a loose painting, so it totally will get crowded, and it's fine if you're not able to give it too much detail. We are not looking for crazy amounts of detail here. And then I do have a couple over here just so that the brown doesn't abruptly stop in our composition. So I have one here. And literally just loosely doing it around the cotton. And then I also have some over here. And notice how, again, I'm leaving a lot of white space. And kind of just leaving it open-ended that way. And I believe there's one over here. All the other tiny leaves are going to be our pink beige foliage. So you see how overlapping the pumpkin base isn't quite interfering as much, even though I have some white space in there in the leaves. It's because it's such a light base coat that it works well with layering. And this is us layering, I guess. I'm adding extra leaves here just to show you guys that, you know, even without the base drawing, you can kind of embellish and add more to it. So we have this. Then the next thing we're going to do is, oh, I kind of smudged things there. I didn't notice that at all. Let me see if I can kind of smudge it out. Kind of just go along and see what happens, I guess. Let's just see. All right, so next thing that I want to do is let's do our pinks, which is happening right here in the foliage. Actually, before we move on to the pink, I just noticed that we have 1, 2 of these cotton bud strands, and I think someone was saying these are called cotton bud. The cotton grows in balls, so the little ones are small balls. Okay, Sue, good to know. So we're just doing one more stem of the small balls right here. And again, just like we did the other ones, I'm just adding a couple of these buds or balls, sorry. And notice how I'm leaving some white space in between as I'm creating these shapes on the stem. Want to keep that loose effect going, so that's what I'm doing there. All right, so next thing we're going to do, I'm going to use my number 4 again because my drawing is fairly small, and we want to get these leaves nice and fun and flowy, just like I got them over here. And what I did here was I mixed, I'll tell you which colors I mixed. So I had my, I believe this is the Carmine Red from St. Petersburg. I always get these two reds mixed up. It's either, yeah, the Carmine, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the Carmine Red. I can't find my sheet indicating the names. Give me 1 second. Let me just see if it's hiding under, oh, here it is. Yes, so this is the warmer of the reds, which is more orangey, has more orange in it than, and so it's called Carmine Red, which is right here. And then I have mixed it up with this brown, these two. Now, depending on which one you mix it, one is English red, the other one's red ochre. I believe this is red ochre, this is the English red. You can either get some that are a little more peachy or some that are a little more beige. So have fun with these, mixing them in small quantities, and I'm going to show you how I did that here. I literally just took some of the red just mix it up here. And you can see it's like this nice pink that's happening. And then I'm going to take some of the red ochre and I'm going to mix some of that in there. And it gives us a nice blend of like a warm pink peach color. This is what we want. And I'm going to also get some of the English red onto the side, and I'm mixing it very lightly with some of what we already have on here. And this is going to give us like a variation of different colors as we kind of paint along. Now, the thing with this is, while it's very fun, super easy to do, it's all about mixing the colors and getting, putting down the color during the right time. So I'm going to do one strand and kind of show you exactly what I mean by that. And let me just get some of the pink by itself here, actually, before I do that. All right, so I have some of that in a consistency that's more water, less color, as you can see on the palette over here. And let's start off with doing it. I'm just going to put some of the browns on the side. I've also mixed some of the Mars brown with it, just to give you an idea. So it gets a little more beigey and we have a good blend of colors. So getting some of the pink so you have all your little blends happening. And I am going to start off by adding a thin stroke or line, stem, right through. And then I'm going to get some of the color directly from here. And I'm going to paint a couple of strokes. Notice I'm not exactly following my base drawing, and this is just to show you guys how easy it is to kind of go with the flow and create your own. You don't really need a base drawing for this. So I'm creating a couple of these in this color, and there's a lot of overlapping happening with this style of petals, or sorry, foliage. So the main point is to get your base, get one color on there first, then go in with the next, and you're kind of drawing from what you've laid down, and you're creating the same motion or the same shapes, and you're just kind of trying to blend it in. So you can take a little bit extra water, extra of the red ochre, and just kind of add additional shapes. It's all repetition, and it's all to create like a movement almost in the painting, and flow, adding some movement and flow to our painting. And I'm leaving white space in just because if I just kind of do the regular leaves that we have been doing, it might get too big for the space that we have. And now I'm just going to add some of the brown, mixing it in with the red just to kind of give it another variation of this shade in our painting. And it's all about adding it while it is still damp, so then they can kind of blend in nicely. And then the tip is just, it just kind of tips off with the two tiny ones at the end. But everywhere else you can have strands of leaves just kind of falling down. So here's one. I'm gonna do one here just to kind of show you outside the drawing that I have. Let's do one here. So literally it's not extending up into the main branch, but I'm just kind of having it fall down. And then I'm just going to go in and get some of the pink that I have and add that to the side just to kind of give it that nice extension of mixing color. And then you can just kind of taper off. And by taper off, I mean just add a couple of dots here and there, because this is a very loose style of painting. I feel like I say that a lot. Just add a couple of dots here and there, and we are good. So this also indicates a lot of, like there's a lot of foliage happening, but we're not kind of giving it too much detail. And there we go. We'll leave that at that. And then let's do some on this side, because I have some here and I have some there. So doing the exact same thing that I just did. However, we can kind of try a different route, just get some of the, I believe this is the English red. Yes. And mixing that up with some of the pink. And we'll do this strand in that color. So I'm just making sure you guys can see me clearly. I'm not sure why it's slightly blurry. There we go. That's better. Okay. Perfect. All right, so doing my strand in the light color that we have. So you can do the whole strand or just start from the base up and then branch out. And this is mainly because so that you can still get a nice blend when you add the attaching strand with leaves. Because if it's dried already, you kind of lose out on the whole blending that potentially could happen. So play around with this technique and you can get some nice effects. So here I'm adding some of that additional color on this side, and it's a little more brown than the pink, so it gives me a nice blend. The whole point of these are to almost be light and almost like a nice framing for our cotton that's happening. And so feel free to kind of mix however you would like this to be. If you want it to be more pink, you want it to be more peach, and we're literally just doing loose leaves all around. And this is a nice, soothing, repetitive action to do, so it's fun. At least I had a lot of fun doing this. As I mentioned previously, you can add some of the brown, and I had some brown here, so I'm just going to mix some of that brown. And the brown really adds something nice. Like when you add some of the brown mixed with the pink and the peach, it's just such a pretty palette. And I'm totally a pink person, but I'm feeling all these beige and pinks and browns that I'm seeing, especially in this style of I guess foliage, you can call it. We can darken some areas a little later, but for now I'm just kind of tapering off by just adding a couple of dots to kind of indicate more detail, but kind of in the background perhaps. And just kind of phase out. All right, so we've done two. I can see that we could probably go with darkening some of this area too, but we don't have to. Let's do the third one. So for the third one, again, we just have these three colors and we're just mixing them to get a variation of pinks and peaches and browns or beiges. So just go along with that. I'm kind of just using all the leftover color that's left on my palette, and I'm just loosely painting in the leaves from the outside in, leaving some white space because this is a loose style of painting, and we want it to be not as detailed. So adding leaves, and it's literally one large stem, and then from the stem you have other stems protruding with leaves. So feel free to kind of add extra movement, extra leaves, like I am doing that over here as well. It's kind of hard when you've drawn it and you don't know how the painting will turn out, because watercolor is so, like, I can never fully plan it, and if I do plan it, I feel like it kills my vibe in terms of how much creativity I am able to exude in my painting, I would say, because then it's very restricting. I have to follow the painting, sorry, the drawing. So I prefer painting without a base, unless it's absolutely important. This kind of helps me with just direction, and also for the sake of our tutorial, I'm able to kind of see how it's going to turn out. So it's helpful that way. But if I were to do this, if this was not alive, I would do it without a base drawing, just to be very honest and clear. All right, so leaving this as is, we are now going to go on to doing our pampas grass. Who enjoyed pampas grass when we did it last week? And who wants to do it again? Anybody? Oh, I'm just going to read the comments really quickly. What's happening? Thanks, Sue. Yeah, you should see my big palette. I'm going to show you guys my big palette. Not impressive at all. And I know I need to clean it up, but it's there. And the thing is, I would like to use it. It's just hard to use it when the screen, I would rather much focus on the painting itself. So this guy comes in handy, and he's pretty to look at too. Lydia, no worries. If you, yeah, anyone who's late, I think Deborah is late too. Hey, Deborah, don't worry, because you can always catch this later on. This is just, if you're able to make it, great. If not, don't stress it, just catch it later on. All right, so we're gonna do the pampas grass. And for this pampas grass, I'm gonna do it a little more like in this manner, which is not what the tutorial I did was like. Mine was more like this, or like this. So we're gonna do this style right here, which I think is a little more furry and free and stuff. So let's start with that. So for that, I used a brown. So we're gonna go ahead and use any leftover brown that we have, because we want the colors to tie in. So if you have leftover brown on your palette, let's go with that, or any of the browns. I would use the Mars brown, which is a lighter brown, and also the umber, which is like a greenish brown from St. Petersburg. So I'm just gonna get some of that onto my palette. And another color to use is some of the yellowish green, which is just a light green. I'm just going to use a tad bit of it off to the side because I don't want it to be too green in here. I really like the palette that's happening. So I'm just going to use a very tiny bit of it. And you can see the consistency that I have. Again, it's quite watery. And while we want these to be nice and tall, they are not going to be as prominent as the rest of what's happening on here. So we're going to start off by doing this strand, one strand over here. So just taking the strand all the way up, and then I am going to take a little more color and add it in the center, almost like a feather, shape or leaf shape, yeah. And then I'm washing all the color off my brush, and with just water on it, I'm just going to do this. And I'm literally spreading out the color like lashes. So keep doing that motion because it's very important that this happens before the color dries up, so you don't get any hard edges. All right, so I'm gonna get a little more of the color and I'm gonna add some to the bottom and enhance it right away. And you see how light it is? You can leave it as light because it's just like a wisp of a hint of a pampas grass happening. I'm just going to add some of the brown in there. And I'm just adding it to the center area and just dabbing it a little bit. And then you can kind of add some additional brown areas that are going out this way. And again, I've washed off all the color and I'm just kind of trying to smooth it out. All right, so we have one. I think it works well. It could kind of use a little more of the brown in the stem as opposed to the greenish look, but I'll leave that up to you guys if you want to do either or. I think both work. My preference would be the brown. So we're gonna do one more, which is right here. And adding my leafy kind of extension shape to it while it is still watery, and then going back in and extending. And this is also fun to do, guys. I don't know if anyone can relate to kind of just watching the paint with satisfaction as it kind of evolves from a shape to like these little wisps, like a feathery look, and then it looks entirely different from what you first laid it down as. And then I'm going in with some of the brown and I'm just enhancing certain areas in the center just to give it a little bit of a two-tone look, so it looks like light and shadow is possibly catching. So this is why the number 4 is very handy, because the tip of this is quite fine and you're able to achieve this little wispy strands. So just trying to add a little more of the darker brown within, but I think we could probably come back to it after it's dried up and add some more. So it's okay. All right, so adding a little more brown to my umber, mixing it up, and we will do our third, because you know I like to do everything in threes as a designer. That's the designer in me, not so much the artist. So I'm just very loosely doing the strand and then going in and doing the exact same thing that I did for these two, which is adding like a leafy shape to it. Then washing off the color, taking the brush and going back, and from the inside out I am extending and creating like feathery looking shapes. And this time I'm only going to do it on like the one side so it looks like it's flopping over here. And I want to try and make it nice and big and fluffy. Let's see if we can achieve that and give it some nice movement. Not bad. I don't mind it. Getting some more of the brown. And I'm going to add that in the center here as well. Yeah, this brown kind of looks nice, I think, for this. Yeah, it's perfect. I'm just adding a couple of additional strands while I have this brown on my... And notice now, I don't have a lot of water on this, so as I'm adding these strokes, they're very dry, but it's giving like some really nice texture to the painting. Now I'm just going to add a tad bit of water. Get some more of the brown, and again we get that nice dry texture happening, and it's quite pretty. It's like a nice addition to all this lay of color that's happening. All right, so I'm going to leave this as that, and I think it looks quite nice. So last few things that are left are little berry strands that are happening here, and we need to do the cotton balls, which are super easy, and then just these two leaves, which I have. I want to have them in the indigo bluish greenish category of colors. All right, so we can use I don't want to use the dark brown again, so we could use brown that is lighter. So I'm going to use this one right here, which is the English red, apparently. And I'm going to mix it with some of the Mars brown that I had. And let's get a nice strand happening. Oh, sorry, or I don't know, you want to call it a strand or stem. Yeah, let's do stem or twig. And I'm just going to loosely add the berries to it. Now, I really didn't think to formulate this after a real plant, so if this is not realistic, sorry. I'm going to do another one here. I'm just using this to embellish and add additional detail and texture, shape, variety of shape to our painting or composition. There we go. And I guess the buds can be, let's make them a, let's make them some of the like the indigo blue, just because we're going to have some of the blue happening in here too. So I'm going to mix some of that on here. That's what it looks like. If you guys have, if you're thinking of using another color, I encourage you to go ahead and do it, because I'm not 100% on it, but I don't mind it. Looks nice. I was just thinking if I'm doing the same color for the leaves here, it might be too much of that happening, especially with the pumpkin and whatnot, but I don't mind it. I kind of like it. So you guys can go ahead and do this or try something else. And plus it's like a nice, I picked this color also because the branch looks more of a orangey color, and so it would be a nice contrast. Oh, there's one here and I didn't notice that. My bad. Yes, because I do like to do things in threes, like I mentioned. So loosely adding it, leaving some white space as per usual. I'm just going to add a couple of dots or circles around here just to kind of indicate Some are in the background. Oh, was it blurry? Sorry guys, I'm busy painting and I don't even like notice when it gets blurry. I should look up every now and then. Hope you didn't miss too much. I'm just adding a couple of more details around here. And then we can go to details down here at the bottom. I'm making these slightly darker just because they are overlapping on the pumpkin. And I'm just going to add a couple of drops of the color into the other ones that we've already laid down. All right, that's great. Oh, good. I'm glad it was only 30 seconds because I hate when that happens. I have no control over it. It just like auto focuses and adjusts, and it's the most annoying thing ever. I wish there was something. I think it's when I take my hands away and then I put it back on screen, it kind of refocuses. You just saw that, right? Like, yeah, I think that's what it is. So I'm really sorry. I'm going to try and look up more often just so I can see what's happening on the screen. So I'm adding the rest over here, the last strand. And that's good. So, okay, so now the cotton balls. Cotton balls are going to be exactly like how we did it earlier this week. I used a combination of the browns, so I believe I may have used, today I'm going to go with the sepia, and I'm just going to mix some of that onto the palette, very, very tad, small amount of it. And I am going to go ahead and add one strand on the outsides, so both sides, and then a couple on the insides. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so that when I go back in and smoothen it out, it literally looks like shadow. Leave the white space as well, guys. And we are just kind of showing it where like the darkest edges should be on the outside, just to kind of give a hint of shape where the cotton starts and ends, I guess you could say. And I'm just dabbing some from the middle because I don't want it to be super brown, but just enough of a hint to indicate that it's there. And then we'll do it for these guys as well. And again, like I was trying to explain above here, I just wanted at the edge, some at the top and the edge, maybe a little bit in the middle here around the middle prong, and then washing all the color from my brush. I'm going to go back in with just water and I'm going to smoothen it out. And this way leaving white space as well. So I just want like a very dainty hint of detail around the cotton. So using the last bit of brown that I have, and I'm going to do the same thing here. And here I'm just adding a couple of random strokes, leaving white space, washing off the color from my brush, and then going back in and just smoothing out certain areas. And what I've done in the center is I've kind of done like a rough circle kind of that you would see in a rose, and I've left white space in there so it looks like a swirl almost. But yeah, if you've done this week's tutorial, we've kind of, whoops, sorry. we've done that there. And yeah, so like, yeah, this is the center one right here. So if you've checked it out, you should definitely check that bit out if you want to enhance it even more here. But again, we're doing a very loose rendition in this series here. So really liking how this has turned out. We just need to add these two little guys here and then we are done. For these guys, I am just going to get the blue, the indigo, which is right here. And I'm going to add a tiny bit of the yellowish green to it. Just a tad. And we've got like this nice teal happening. And you've seen the consistency that I've added. I'm just going to go ahead and add this nice big leaf happening. And I'm spreading the color all around. So just create like one big leaf if you're not quite sure how to shape this. And give the edges like a very organic feel. And by organic, I mean like curvy. So it doesn't have to be straight. And you can leave a little bit of white space in between if you wish. I'm leaving a very thin white line. And then what I'm going to do is wash off all the color, and with just water, I'm going to wipe off some color to indicate like the the veins in the leaves. Yes, and that's like super pretty. So super easy, right? Like I just showed you. We're gonna do the next one, which is in a similar shape. And I'm gonna start this one this way here. And coloring the whole leaf in, giving it an organic shape because we are doing a very loose rendition of this. I'm leaving some white space in the center to kind of indicate the spine, and then washing off all the color, and with just water on it, I'm going in and adding some detail by just washing off some of the color. Give it this nice ripple effect. I know I say threes, but I only have 2 of these leaves, so we are done with this here. And there's a couple of things you can leave it as is because I like how it's turned out, or you can go back in and add a couple of details. And by details I mean, like for instance over here, we've got this nice stem happening. But if you want to give it a little more detail, that's too orange. I would add a little more pink into that. If you want to give it a little more detail as to where the main stem starts, where some of the other stems start, you can kind of go in and add that. Or you can just leave it extremely loose and light as it is. That's entirely up to you. I'm just going to show you how that kind of looks if you decide to go in and add that. So then you can decide. Adding just a couple of strands or strokes to show where things are heading. Here as well. And then same thing with the pumpkin. If you want to add a couple of strands or strokes, not strands. This is not the color I'm looking for. I'm looking for my blue. Yeah, so if you just want to add a little more detail to the pumpkin, I'm doing the dry brush strokes here. And what else? Oh yeah, the pampas grass. So if you want to add a slightly darker brown for the pampas grass, just go in with a brown and just enhance the stems a bit. I'm just going to enhance that really lightly. And there we go, we have our painting. So I hope you guys like this. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought. I'm gonna read your chat really quickly to see what's happening. Karen, I'm not sure if, yeah, I think there should be captions. I think most of my videos do have it, especially if you have it turned on, I think, as a setting. Anne-Marie, yes, this is a, it is a shell. 405 palettes. Deanna, yeah, I only have 2 palettes, guys, and for some reason I always gravitate to this one, so it's like pointless for me to buy anything. Anne-Marie, yes, I really like this palette, and I hear it's soft and pastel-y down in the south more than up here. And I know I started off with the bright orange pumpkins, but I love these light pastel-y ones. Thanks, Cindy. Thanks, Deanna. Thanks, Anne-Marie. Thanks, Steffi. And thanks, Lise. All right, guys, so I think we are done for today. If anyone had any questions, please feel free to message me. If you really like this video, please do share it in your social media circles, because it really helps me get out there and reach more people. And if you liked it, also please hit the like button. And I will have, for those who want to try this again with the base drawing, this will be available in the description of this video, so you can absolutely download it and give this another go and just kind of see how you make do with the base drawing if you want to try that. But I really hope you like this, and yeah, like I said, send me your work if you followed along on Instagram or on my Facebook page. I love hearing from you guys and seeing what you have done. So yeah, that's it. So have a wonderful Sunday, and we'll chat soon, guys. Bye.